Good evening, folks. This is Deb, and I'm back. And you know what else is back? Shut the fuck up is back. We've been on hiatus for a while, but we're back, and we're going to start off with a bang tonight. So, you know, the GOP now finds themselves having a run against Kamala Harris, and they really have no idea what to do with her. They really don't, and it's so much fun to watch. But one of the things they've been focusing on is that she's unqualified for the position of the presidency, and that she's nothing but a DEI hire. That has been, Donald Trump has called her, and I'm quoting, dumb as a rock, end quote, and insignificant as a vice president. And the whole DEI thing has been echoed by Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who said, quote, 100% she is a DEI hire, end quote, which means, the only way she got where she is, aside from sleeping her way there, which that's also being inferred, which is a whole different topic, is that she's a female and a person of color. That's the only reason she got where she is. So let's talk about this for a minute, because it seems to me that the other side of the ticket are the people with the problem. Okay, I'm going to go through in a very short way the whole history of Kamala Harris and how she got here. Okay, but let's talk about the two idiots on the other side of the coin there. Let's talk about Donald Trump. What qualifications did Donald Trump have for the presidency when he started running in 2015? None. No one questioned that, did they? I didn't see any of that. None of that. Donald Trump, prior to becoming president of the United States, was a failed businessman who had filed for bankruptcy 6 times. And, he now has 34 criminal convictions based on his previous life as a civilian, as a fleecer of an entire state, practically, a man who used his power to pay off a porn star so that bad information didn't get out about him before the 2016 election. Those are the man's qualifications for the presidency. And it became quite apparent when he took the job that he wasn't qualified for the presidency. The only thing Donald Trump is qualified for is the loony bin. Okay, J.D. Vance. Let's look at J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance hasn't even finished his term as a first-time senator, and he's being elevated to the vice presidency. Okay, this is a guy who probably can't tie his shoes. Prior to having his Senate seat purchased for him by a billionaire named Peter Thiel, the only qualification that J.D. Vance had was writing a New York Times bestseller called Hillbilly Elegy, which, as it turns out, is supposed to be about where he grew up. And people who have read that book say what he wrote is nothing like where he grew up. So, I'm, as always, totally mystified by how they get away with doing this and no one calls them out on it. So I'm going to call them out right now. Let's talk about Kamala Harris and how she got where she got. She started out as a deputy district attorney of Alameda County. This was back in the 90s, okay, early 90s. She then moved to the assistant district attorney of San Francisco, where she became chief of the career criminal division and prosecuted homicides, burglaries, and sexual assaults, which is why she says she understands Donald Trump's type. In August of 2000, Harris ran the Family and Children's Services Division for the city of San Francisco, representing child abuse and neglect cases. In 2003, Harris ran and won her position as district attorney of San Francisco. She was then reelected in 2007 and served another term. In 2010, she was elected as the Attorney General of the state of California, and she served 2 terms in that position until 2017. And she took on some pretty powerful entities in that position and was extremely successful. And I don't have all of that detail here because we don't have time to read it all off. But in the body of this video, you'll be able to see all of that. In 2017, she was elected to the U.S. Senate from the state of California, replacing the retiring Senator Barbara Boxer. Barbara Boxer, by the way, endorsed her for that Senate seat, and she won the seat with more than 60% of the vote. She served in the Senate until 2021, resigning after being elected as Vice President of the United States. And she has served as Joe Biden's Vice President all the way through his entire term. And she was a very instrumental part, as it turns out, in the release and prisoner swap that happened between the United States and Russia. Now, I personally think her finest moment as a senator, and I have to say this, was when she was questioning Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearings and made him cry. That was a thing of beauty. So let me just say this whole thing in closing about this DEI thing, all right? You know, that's kind of like the whole woke thing. You know, that's like if you are a human being who values diversity and understands that we're not a white society, no matter how much the GOP wants to paint it that way. So right now in the United States, women are anywhere from 51 to 53% of the overall population. We do have more women than ever serving in the House and the Senate, but it's still not a representative amount, giving our numbers as citizens, quite frankly. So I think that having a woman at the highest echelons of the US government, it's about time. And it's about time it's a person of color. Because you know what? We are a very diverse nation. I can't say this enough. Donald Trump and the GOP should really shut the fuck up and find some other way to go after Kamala Harris than this, because this is a non-issue for the majority of the American people, as we have seen by the energy coming off this campaign. People are ready for this. The only people not ready are the people on the other side of the aisle. I'll talk to you guys later.